Okay, just a quick video today, just to address some things that I've heard for years now, but I heard again recently, and I just think it's the most hysterical, missed the mark sort of insult that critics of the EU often throw at us. And it goes basically something like this. I'm sure you've seen it. They say, I've read all the books. I have all the books. They always have the most amazing libraries. These people always claim to have it all, right? In reality, they have probably like 5 books from the EU that they haven't read in years or something, right? And just assume that that was the vast majority of the books or whatever. That doesn't matter, but it's always funny. They always claim some credibility, right? In order to say the following. They go, I've read it all. I've seen it all. I own it all. And 90% of the EU was just garbage. It was trash, right? Always very landfill-oriented insults. It's always a dumpster fire or garbage or trash, right? That number is hysterical to me because it's designed to seem scientific, right? It's designed to seem impressive. They go, oh wow, you've read it all, and you've done this scientific calculation. You've actually worked out that only 1 in 10 books was good. Well, that's fascinating, right? So it's designed to sound scientific. It's made up, right? It's supposed to impress because it's such a large number, right? But it's also primarily supposed to attack us personally, right? Guys, we've read your storyline. We've read all those books, and it was mostly trash. They tell us this as if we wrote the books. Now, I love the EU. I'll defend it, right? Even as I'm perfectly willing to admit, and have for years, that some of it isn't great. Some of the most interesting conversations I have with my friends who are also in the EU fandom are over the things we don't like. This cover was silly. This storyline was dumb. This characterization felt a little off, right? We love having those kind of conversations. We're totally open to them, right? But when you guys tell us, oh, it was all crap, I don't know if you don't know that we didn't write it. I'm not Troy Denning. I'm not Timothy Zahn. I'm not the designers at BioWare. I wasn't on the editorial staff at Wizards of the Coast or West End Games, Fantasy Flight, right? I didn't draw comics for Dark Horse. I didn't actually make the EU. So when you tell me you don't like it and you thought it was garbage, great, that's just your opinion. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Again, I defend this stuff because I think there's a lot of value for folks who like Star Wars, right? But if it was not for you, it's not for you. But here's who you do offend when you tell things like that. Here's who you actually personally piss off. Not me, not the EU fandom. But the licensees, the current ones who not only made the EU stuff, which you thought was systematic garbage, but they're the ones that are still doing the new stuff. Del Rey is still the main book licensee for Star Wars. They're still the ones helping to extend this new storyline. How is it that they were producing systematic garbage for years, 90% of which was just landfill worthy? But somehow on April 25th, 2014, when they started, to take cues from Lucasfilm and start commissioning books along the new storyline, everything was great. How is it that 110% of the new stuff is fantastic, but 90% was crap? Look, I'm perfectly willing to believe that the new stuff might be good. Given Del Rey's track record, they're a quality shop. I bet it's really good. But be honest with yourself, guys. Nothing changed. Del Rey didn't somehow radically adopt different editorial practices just because George Lucas left the company. No, I think it's the case that just taking Del Rey, that the EU was as good as your love of more Star Wars. You don't offend us personally, but you really piss off Del Rey, who must be sitting here wondering why in the hell are we going to continue to produce more books for you guys? Fewer people read books, fewer people are engaging with this sort of extended universe, right? Meanwhile, they're hearing constantly a clamor, a real demand for more legends. Del Rey wants to produce more of the old stuff. And not because it was systematic garbage, but because, on the contrary, Del Rey is a great publisher, and they produce really great stuff. And we want more. And Lucasfilm didn't reboot because Del Rey wasn't doing its job, because the EU was garbage. Disney could only buy Lucasfilm for $4 billion, partially because Del Rey was keeping it alive with such fascinating content, okay? A lot of which, by the way, from what I hear, they've essentially recycled and included in some of the new canon storyline anyway. So, for goodness sakes, guys, it can't be garbage being produced by Del Rey, but somehow magically be wonderful on this side. And moreover, from what I understand, some of the stuff that like Zahn is putting into the new canon books. It's stuff he pulled right out of his old books from Del Rey. So it's like, cut the crap, and get with the program, guys. Again, we love the EU. We are advocating for its return, but we aren't the authors, you fools. But Del Rey, the editorial overseers of these projects, they are the ones putting the stuff together. So I don't know if I'm not an expert on this stuff, but if it were me and I were trying to defend the new canon, I wouldn't be totally shitting on Del Rey. Okay, just a word to the wise.